Have you ever looked into a woman's eyes and wondered what makes her fall so deeply for some men, while others she forgets the next day? Have you ever felt that confusion, where you did everything right, said all the right words, yet somehow she drifted away? If so, stop scrolling, because in this video, I'll share 7 psychological tricks inspired by the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius that will not just attract her but make her deeply obsessed with you, not through games but through power. So before we begin, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel and watch till the end, because what you're about to learn could change your love life forever. The man who chased and the man who attracted. Let's begin with a story. There were 2 men, Ethan and Marcus, both liked the same woman. Ethan chased her, texted her first, complimented her every morning. He thought that's how love works, through effort, attention, and constant validation. But Marcus was different. He didn't chase. He didn't beg. He didn't play games either. He simply was calm, grounded, purposeful. And guess what? She couldn't stop thinking about him. Why? Because women don't fall for the man who gives them the world. They fall for the man who gives them a mystery. And that's where Stoicism comes in. The ancient philosophy of inner power, calmness, and control. So let's uncover these, the Stoic psychological tricks that make women obsessed, drawn not to your looks or money but to your energy. 1. The power of emotional control. Have you ever been in love so deeply that her mood could change your whole day? Where one cold text from her made your heart drop? Where one word, the fine water, ruined your peace for hours? Yeah, we've all been there. You sit there staring at your phone waiting for her reply. The mind starts racing. Did I say something wrong? Is she losing interest?
Why is she online but not replying to me?
And before you know it, your emotions take over. You start double texting. You overthink every emoji. You go from calm to chaos, all because of one person's silence. But here's what most men never realize. When you lose your emotional control, you lose your power. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. And brother, that line, that single truth, is the difference between a man who's desired and a man who's forgotten. Let's turn this into a story on your story. You remember that girl who once looked at you like you were her whole world? You remember the late night calls, the "I miss you" texts, the excitement in her voice every time she said your name? Now think about how that changed the moment you started reacting too quickly. The moment you started chasing her emotional storms, instead of standing still in your calm. You see, women subconsciously test your strength, not to hurt you but to feel you, to see if your emotions control you or if you control them. When she gets distant and you panic, she senses weakness. But when she gets distant and you stay grounded, she feels something magnetic, something that pulls her back. That's the paradox. When you're not shaken by her chaos, she finds peace in you. Let me paint it this way. Imagine she's having one of those days. Everything's off, emotions are high. Most men would rush in, overtext, overtalk, overreact. But the Stoic man? He listens. He smiles gently. He gives her space. He says, "Take your time, I'm here." And suddenly, and she relaxes, her walls drop. Because she feels something most men can't give. Emotional safety. That's what emotional control truly is, not coldness. Not distance, but calmness in the middle of emotional chaos. Think about your past love again. How different things might have been if you had just paused before reacting, if you had just let silence do the talking. You can't control her actions, her words, or her moods, but you can always control how you respond. And when you do that, when you stay calm no matter what she does, she starts to feel something rare, respect. She starts to think about you more. She wonders, why doesn't he lose himself like other men do? That curiosity turns into fascination, and that fascination becomes obsession. So next time she pulls away, don't chase. When she tests your patience, don't fight. Just breathe, smile quietly, and remember, you are the calm in her storm. 2. The power of purpose. When was the last time you woke up with fire in your heart? Not for a woman, but for your purpose? When was the last time you chased something so passionately that even if the whole world went silent, you'd still keep moving? Most men can't answer that easily, because somewhere along the way, we stopped chasing our dreams and started chasing people. Maybe you've been there before, texting her every morning, adjusting your plans for her, waiting all day just to get a short reply that says, "I'm busy." You start to forget what your goals were. Your drive fades, your purpose fades, and slowly you fade. But here's a truth you need to remember. A woman doesn't fall in love with a man who revolves around her. She falls in love with a man who revolves around his mission. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Stop talking about what a good man should be one." And that's exactly what purpose does, and it makes you a man of action, not words. Let me tell you a story. Maybe it's your story. There was a time you had goals. Maybe you wanted to build a business, hit the gym, learn a new skill, or rise in your career. But then, she came into your life. Her smile became your morning motivation. Her text became your daily reward. You started living for her approval instead of your vision. And the moment that happened, your energy shifted. She felt it. She sensed that your strength was now tied to her attention. And guess what? That's when she started pulling away. Because women are not drawn to men who chase love. They're drawn to men who chase greatness. Let me put it like this. Have you ever noticed how a man who's focused, who's quietly working on something big, suddenly seems more attractive? It's because his energy is different. He's not begging for validation. He's building. He's not talking about what he's going to do, he's doing it. That's what purpose does, and it gives your aura weight. When you have direction, your words carry confidence. Your silence feels powerful. You no longer need to prove yourself, because your actions speak for you. And here's the crazy part. When you focus on your purpose, women feel it. They might not understand it logically, but emotionally, they're drawn to it like a magnet, because your mission gives them something to believe in, a man who's going somewhere. And that's the kind of man every woman secretly desires, not the one who needs her to complete him, but the one who's already complete. Think about it. What's more powerful? A man texting all day trying to get attention, or a man so focused on his mission that his attention becomes a reward? Your mission is what shapes your presence, your energy, your charisma. So stop making her your purpose. Let her witness your purpose. Let her see you working late, striving, building, because when she realizes that your ambition burns brighter than your desire for her, that's when the obsession begins. 3. The art of silence. Have you ever noticed that the more you try to explain yourself to someone, the less they seem to listen? Or the more you chase someone's attention, the faster they seem to pull away? It's painful, isn't it? You give everything, your words, your thoughts, your time, and somehow, it still feels like it's never enough. Now imagine this, and what if the key to her attention wasn't in what you say, but in what you don't say? Because here's the truth. Silence is the most underrated form of attraction. It's not emptiness. It's energy. It's mystery. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have, and that includes her attention, her reactions, her approval. When you stop trying to control how much she likes you, and instead, control how much of yourself you reveal, something powerful happens. She starts to wonder. And that, my friend, is the beginning of obsession. Let me tell you a story. Maybe this sounds familiar. There was a guy named Daniel. Daniel was the nice guy. He always replied instantly, wrote long texts, and tried his best to keep the conversation alive. He thought that constant communication would build a connection. But what actually happened? She stopped valuing his attention. She took his words for granted. Then one day, Daniel changed. He stopped texting every hour. He focused on his goals. And when she asked, "What's going on with you?" he simply said, "Just working on something." That one sentence made her curious. Her mind started spinning. What's he working on? Why isn't he telling me? And that curiosity in that space became magnetic. You see, mystery doesn't come from playing games. It comes from self-control. It's when you stop trying to prove your worth and start letting your presence speak for itself. Women are emotional creatures. They're drawn not just to words, but to energy. And silence creates space for that energy to breathe. When you stop explaining every thought, every feeling, every plan, you give her something no other man does. The thrill of discovery. And nothing keeps a woman's attention more than the need to figure you out. Let her wonder where you are. Let her question what you're thinking. Let her miss your presence when you're quiet, because silence builds anticipation, and anticipation builds desire. Remember why? When you reveal everything too soon, you kill curiosity. But when you reveal yourself slowly, like turning the pages of a book she can't stop reading, that's when she becomes addicted to your energy. Your silence should whisper, "I don't chase attention, I attract it." So next time you feel like over-explaining yourself, stop. Smile, say less, because your mystery will speak louder than any words ever could. And when you master that, you'll realize a man of few words doesn't go unnoticed. He becomes unforgettable. 4. Emotional availability without weakness. Have you ever been so in love that you wanted to fix everything for her? Every time she cried, you felt her pain. Every time she went silent, your heart started racing. What's wrong? Did I do something? How do I make her smile again? You tried to be her hero, her healer, her everything. But somehow, instead of bringing her closer, it pushed her away. Why does that happen? Because most men confuse being emotionally available with being emotionally dependent. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." And that means, when you express emotions, make sure they come from truth, not from fear. You see, women crave emotional depth, but not emotional chaos. They want a man who can understand their feelings, not one who gets lost in them. Let's turn this into a story. There was a man named Aiden. He was everything a woman could ask for: kind, caring, always there. When his girlfriend was sad, he dropped everything. When she was angry, he apologized even if it wasn't his fault. But slowly, she began to feel something strange. She couldn't feel his strength anymore, because every time she cried, he collapsed emotionally too. Every time she was insecure, he became insecure with her. Until one day she said the words that shattered him. "You're too soft." Aiden didn't understand. He thought emotional openness meant total vulnerability, but in truth it meant he'd lost his center. Now imagine a different version of Aiden, the Stoic version. He still listens when she's upset. He looks her in the eyes, nods, and says calmly, "I hear you. Take your time." But he doesn't break down with her. He doesn't lose his peace trying to fix her emotions. He becomes her anchor, not her mirror. And that's the essence of emotional availability with strength. You don't need to be distant or cold. You just need to be steady. When she cries, you stay calm. When she rants, you listen not to respond but to understand. When she tests your patience, you don't match her chaos. You guide her back to peace. Because when a woman sees that you can hold her storms without losing your ground, she feels something sacred, safety. She starts opening up to you more. She starts trusting you. And most importantly, she starts respecting you. Women don't fall for men who crumble when emotions rise. They fall for men who can stand still in the fire and still say, "It's okay, I'm not going anywhere." So the next time she's emotional, don't try to fix her. Just be present. Because your calm presence says more than 1,000 comforting words ever could. Be available, not absorbent. Be compassionate, not consumed. Because that balance, that quiet strength, is what makes her obsessed. Not with what you say, but with how you make her feel. 5. The power of absence. Have you ever given so much of yourself to someone that when they finally left, you felt empty? Like your world went quiet overnight? You kept checking your phone hoping for a message that never came. And when it didn't, you started wondering, was I not enough? That pain, that silence, it teaches a lesson most men never forget. You see, in love, the hardest thing to do is nothing. To not chase, to not beg, to simply let go and trust that your absence will speak louder than your presence ever could. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly." What he meant was simple. Stop clinging to things that drain your peace. Stop living as if your worth depends on whether someone stays or goes. Because the truth is, your absence has power. Let me tell you a story that might sound a little too familiar. There was a man named Leo. He loved deeply, maybe too deeply. When his girlfriend grew distant, he panicked. He called, he texted, he begged for clarity, and the more he reached out, the colder she became. Until one day, he decided to stop. Not out of pride, but out of peace. He stopped checking his phone. He stopped trying to convince her. He just disappeared from her world. At first, she didn't notice. But days later, she started to wonder, where is he? She opened her phone, scrolled through their old messages, replayed his voice notes, and slowly, she started missing something she didn't realize she valued, his energy. Because that's what absence does. It creates space, and in that space, desire grows. See, when you're always available, you become predictable. But when you pull back, your value expands in her mind. She starts to remember the little things. Your voice, your calmness, your silence. And she begins to feel the weight of your absence. But here's the secret. you must mean your absence. Don't go silent just to make her chase. Do it because your peace matters more than her approval. When you walk away with dignity, the universe shifts in your favor. Because a man who can live without her is the man she can't live without. Think about it. What happens when your favorite song disappears from the playlist? You crave it. You hum it. You miss it. That's exactly how emotional energy works. Your absence forces her to feel what your presence made too comfortable. So stop fearing silence. Embrace it. Because sometimes the loudest way to speak is to say nothing at all. When she realizes that your world doesn't stop when she walks away, she'll start to question hers. That's the power of absence. It's not punishment. It's presence in disguise. So when love tests you, no, step back. Not to hurt her, not to manipulate, but to remind her and yourself that you were never chasing her. She was drawn to your energy, and absence, my brother, is what makes that energy unforgettable. 6. The confidence of non-reactivity. Have you ever been in that moment where she pulls away, gives you short replies, or suddenly acts cold, and you feel that burning urge to react, to text her what's wrong, or to explain yourself, even though deep down you've done nothing wrong? That feeling, that need for her reassurance, it's the trap every man falls into when he hasn't learned the art of non-reactivity. Let me tell you something powerful. A man who cannot control his reaction gives away his power. Every single time. There was a guy named Armin. He was kind, passionate, and deeply in love. But like most men, he wore his heart on his sleeve. When his girlfriend ignored his messages, he'd get anxious. When she took too long to reply, he'd double text. When she seemed distant, he'd chase harder, trying to fix what wasn't broken. But every time he reacted emotionally, she lost a little bit of respect for him. Not because she was cruel, but because women are wired to feel safe around a man who remains calm when the storm hits. One night, Armin finally broke down. He asked his older brother, "Why do I always end up feeling small? Why does she pull away when I show I care?" His brother smiled and said something that changed his life forever. Because care isn't weakness, but chasing validation is. Women don't fall in love with your emotions. They fall in love with your composure. Those words hit him like thunder. From that day on, Armin decided to respond differently. When she tested him, he smiled. When she got distant, he stayed calm. When she didn't text, he focused on his goals. And slowly, something strange happened. She started missing him again. She became curious. She started wondering, why isn't he reacting like before? You see, emotional control is mysterious. It's magnetic. It makes her feel that your peace is not dependent on her behavior, that you are a man who leads his emotions, not one led by them. Most men think love means constant expression, constant reassurance. But true love from a place of confidence is quiet. It doesn't scream, "Notice me." It simply exists, steady, certain, and powerful. Because when you stop chasing her validation, you send a silent message. I already know my worth. You can either align with it or lose it. And that's when women begin to respect you. Not for what you say, but for what you don't. So the next time she tests your patience, breathe. The next time you feel ignored, smile. The next time your ego begs you to react, remember this. Your calmness is your crown. Your silence is your shield. And your self-control is what makes you unforgettable. Because the man who doesn't chase validation becomes the man every woman wants validation from. First, the courage to walk away. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that the very thought of losing them felt like losing a part of yourself? You held on tighter. You gave more, sacrificed more, forgave more, all just to keep them close. But somewhere along the way, they stopped valuing you. And still you stayed, hoping they'd see your worth again. If that sounds familiar, then this final lesson is for you. You see, one of the hardest truths a man can ever face is this. Sometimes love isn't lost because of her. It's lost because you refused to walk away when you should have. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." And that includes staying in places where your soul is no longer respected. There was a man named Samir. He loved a woman who once adored him. She used to laugh at his jokes, look into his eyes like he was her world. But as time passed, she began to drift. Her words became colder, her touch less frequent, her heart elsewhere. Samir felt it, but he couldn't accept it. He told himself, maybe if I try harder, she'll remember how it used to be. He kept giving and giving, and until he felt empty. One day he looked in the mirror and barely recognized himself. His eyes looked tired. His confidence gone. And that's when it hit him. He didn't lose her. He lost himself trying to keep her. That was the moment he decided to walk away, and not out of anger, not out of ego, but out of self-respect. He texted her one last time, "I still care about you, but I care about myself too." And he never looked back. Days later, something shifted. She reached out. She wanted to talk. She wanted to understand why he was suddenly calm, why he wasn't chasing anymore. That's the paradox of life, and when you finally let go, you regain everything you lost within yourself. Your peace, your power, your worth. Women respect a man who has the strength to love deeply but also walk away gracefully. When love becomes disrespect, because that's not weakness, that's ultimate strength. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions, and no ambition is greater than protecting your peace." So, brother, if you ever find yourself at that crossroad, where staying costs your self-respect, and choose yourself, walk away with calmness, not revenge, with gratitude, not hate, because the moment you do, you'll rise above the need to be loved, and become the man who commands love naturally. Remember, walking away isn't the end. It's the beginning of being valued again, both by her and by yourself. Closing reflection, the Stoic flame. In the end, Stoicism isn't about manipulation or mind games. It's about mastering yourself so deeply that others naturally gravitate toward your peace. Marcus Aurelius lived in chaos, wars, betrayals, loss, yet he stayed calm. He stayed grounded, and that calmness made him one of the most respected men in history. Women don't obsess over perfection. They obsess over presence. Each one doesn't just make you attractive, it makes you free. And when a man becomes free from outcome, women feel that energy in their bones. Because true attraction isn't about chasing, it's about becoming the kind of man she doesn't want to lose. So brother, stop chasing her attention. Start mastering yourself. Because once you do, she won't just like you, she'll crave you. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time,